Do you remember an episode of Doraemon where Nobita is reading a comic book? The story becomes so interesting that it stops right at the climax, because the next part hasn't been released yet. Now the problem is that both Nobita and Doraemon become extremely curious. They want to know what happens next in the story. So, they go straight to the comic's writer. But there, they find another twist. The writer himself says he has no idea what to write in part 2 yet. Nobita and Doraemon are completely disappointed, but their curiosity doesn't end. That's when Doraemon gets an idea. Let's go to the future. Part 2 must have already been released there. So, they both travel to the future using the time machine. They go to a future bookstore and start reading part 2 of the comic. However, they can only read half the story because the shop owner scolds them, saying that reading while standing in the bookstore isn't allowed. Forced to leave, they return to the present. Meanwhile, Jian, Suneo, and Shizuka are also discussing part 2 of that comic. In his excitement, Nobita blabs that he knows the next part of the story and starts narrating it. But at that exact moment, something interesting happens. The comic writer is passing by and overhears Nobita. The writer is shocked. He asks Nobita, "How do you know this story? I can't even find an idea for part 2. Please tell me the whole story." Now, Nobita and Doraemon go to the future once more. This time they bring the entire comic back and give it to the writer in the present. And this is where the most interesting part begins. The writer simply copies the comic and publishes it. Now stop and think for a second. This comic exists in the future because the writer published it. But the writer only published it because Nobita brought that comic from the future. So the real question is, who actually created part 2 of the Tiger Mask comic? Not the writer, and not Nobita either. The idea literally came from nowhere. In physics, this is called the Bootstrap Paradox, a time loop where information, an object, or an idea keeps circulating within time without ever having an original creator.